Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Dynamics 365 Security and Licensing Updates, What You Need to Know. I'm Sebastian Anderson with the Licensing and Database Desk here at Avantico. We have a huge topic on the menu for today, one with implications for every corner of the D365 world. To guide us through these massive changes, we have Morten Løgstrup, our Director of Customer Engagement and resident expert on all things licensing. He'll be walking us through Microsoft's licensing enforcement announcements, basic and advanced security and licensing assessments, real-world client examples of how our assessments have helped and outcomes, and a special limited time licensing offer for attendees only. Morten will be taking over shortly, but before we dive into today's session, I'd love to share some of the other exciting webinars and events we have coming up. First, on June 5th, we'll be featuring the 10.44 Service Update webinar, where you'll see live demos of the most impactful 1044 updates, get practical insights into the 2025 release cycle, and learn how to align new features with your roadmap to maximize your ROI. Next up, on June 17th, the Freight Reconciliation for Dynamics 365. You'll learn how Avantico's solution automates freight invoice reconciliation, gives you real-time visibility, and enables full control of your shipping costs, all within D365 F&SCM. Finally, on June 24th, streamlining multi-entity financial close and consolidation in D365 Finance. You'll learn how AMCS, our D365 solution for automating complex accounting across multi-entity organizations, can accelerate your financial close and streamline intercompany eliminations and multi-entity consolidation. For those of you in the EU, we'll also be at Dynamic Minds next week from May 26 to 28, where we'll be presenting From Manual to Magic, a guide to AMCS, our aforementioned multi-company solution. We have more events and webinars coming up in Q3, so do be on the lookout for those. And be sure to let us know in the chat if there's anything you would really like to see from us in the future. All registration links for these events will be made available in the chat and on our website. One last note. As we go along, do not hesitate to pop any questions you have into the chat, and we will answer them in the open Q&A at the end of the presentation or in direct email follow-up. This talk will be recorded and distributed in a follow-up mailer for easy viewing later on. And with that, Morten, take it away.
Thank you, Sebastian. My name is Morten. I'm here in Los Angeles, originally Danish. Been working with the Microsoft licenses for the last many years, going back to the AX 4, 9, and 12 days, and then to D365. And I'll do my best to cover as many topics as possible today. I also have Tatiana on the call, and she will be answering the tough questions. I'll take the easy ones. Please drop the questions in the chat, and we can take them after each topic or on an ongoing basis. I think that will be good. That worked last time because we are touching different areas and there will be different questions. So feel free to drop them in the chat or reach out directly if you have some sensitive topics you would like to discuss related to security and licenses. The purpose for today will be to shortly cover the new announcements. I think that we received like an email last week from Microsoft. Changes to the deadlines. Then I will cover some basic self-assessments that you can do today to figure out if you are compliant or not, if you require like a licensing step up and so on. And then I will take a brief moment to go over some of the advanced security and licensing analysis offerings and some results from other customers. And finally, we have a couple of links, some promotions, and again, Q&As. I think this topic have really generated a lot of questions. This topic have really created a lot of questions because it was pushed out fairly quickly after licensing have not been enforced for the years since the cloud product. But yeah, so feel free, fire away as much as possible. We will cover as much as possible. And if we don't, we will definitely follow up with you, or you can schedule a meeting, and we will do our best to cover them. So let's jump into it. The Microsoft announcement earlier this week, we received the new email, but what you probably have noticed if you have Power Platform Admin Center, there is some new reports where you can actually see if licenses have been assigned. You can see who need licenses. You can see what license they need and so forth. Last time, give and take 3 weeks ago, the Microsoft enforcement or notification user notification date was set as May 15. Last week, they announced that they pushed that out to September 1st so that the end users in Dynamics Finance and Supply Chain, they won't get a warning bar. We will see in a second before September 1st. They initially said that August 30 was the enforcement date, meaning where you absolutely needed the licensing assigned and the right amount of licensing assigned in order for users not to lose access. They moved that out to November 1st. So there's definitely changes happening. The applications impacted, you see a list of them. Most of you are most likely running finance and supply chain with some degree into maybe commerce or project operation or HR. The new SKUs, Premium and Finance Premium, is the same application, just more functionalities. One very, very important topic as of May 22 is the level of enforcement, because it's still a little bit unclear what Microsoft are doing related to the device licenses. So if you have warehouses and users out there, we are not 100% sure what's happening. We have an idea. And then the second unknown, if you are familiar with your database entitlement, you can also see that in the Power Platform Center. We will cover that in a second. We heard that this enforcement will happen later in 2026. So first, we need to get the security roles, the licenses, and then the databases might be enforced after that. And the reason why bullet 2 is there, the actual timeline, who knows if September 1st and November 1st is actually going to happen. And the reason why I'm saying that is what we have seen the last, I would say, 2 months. Many customers from different industries are on different versions of D365. And that simply caused some discrepancies when we look in the reports in Power Platform Center, but also in the new module for those that are on 10.0.43, user security governance. Tatiana will cover that later. But so I think Microsoft is allowing everybody to get up to the latest version where you have the right reports and so on and so forth. That's the announcement. Let's see here. The screen. Oh. What will happen? We covered that last time, but the users will pretty much get a notification bar starting September. If they are licensed correctly, there won't be anything. If they need more licenses, they will get this bar. And you can simply, as an admin, or ask your admin to assign more, or you can say, hey, is this actually correct that a user need multiple licenses? And you can go in to more details around what security roles have actually been assigned to that person. So this is the warning sign for now. Again, we don't know if this is being displayed on, for example, devices, but we will figure that out as we go. When we jump into a self-assessment and what can you do yourself, if you have Power Platform Admin access or role assigned to you, you can jump into the new dashboard in Admin Power Platform that Microsoft and click licenses over here, then finance and operations, and you actually get a pretty good view of the different user levels of licenses. You have the finance, you have the team member, supply chain, and so on and so forth. You have available seats, and the available seats, that's where we have seen discrepancies when we are speaking with some of our customers. Available seats meaning what have you purchased and what is displayed right here. Microsoft know that there is some issues and they are working on it. as of now, we have no timeline on when that discrepancy is fixed. We have also seen, depending on what version you're on, let's say you're on 1042, there's more discrepancies versus the customers that are on 1043 and so on. So the later version you're on, the better the report should be. But there is some known discrepancies, so don't freak out off the bat. But it gives you a good indication of, hey, what should I actually pay attention to and what should I not pay attention to? Any questions so far? Sebastian, I can't see the chat.
Sure. We have one from Nadia Manuel. Will these numbers include sandbox licenses as well?
I actually get to the sandbox licenses because that's a tenant-based license. But we will cover some of that in a little bit when it comes to database entitlement.
Right. That's
If we
everything we have directly so far.
Perfect. If we jump a little bit further, you can actually also export all the data, and you can see exactly what user need what. If you click on View Users over here on, for example, the finance, you get a more detailed view of who actually need a finance license because they are, for example, in production. In this case, non-production, they don't need licenses. Production, they need licenses. Up here, you get a little bit of insight into what security role is driving what license. And in this case, we are just looking at some finances. And in most cases, users have multiple roles assigned, and that is one of the biggest drivers of multiple licenses, meaning multiple costs and so on and so forth. So definitely pay attention to how many roles, security roles, each user in your production have assigned, because that's normally a big driver. But all this information is available in the Power Platform. You can go in and noodle with it. There's many things you can click on, and you can kind of compare to what you have in D365. In a little, Tatiana will show some of the security user governance. What you also have to remember is assign the licenses. Historically, there have been no licensing enforcement in D365, meaning you could actually have, let's say, 1,000 users in your production environment, and you could only have, let's say you purchased 100 licenses. So there was actually a 900 license discrepancy, and there have been no enforcement on that, which have caused, just to be blunt, we have seen many examples of customers that gave their users a lot of security roles in order to perform what they need, and that is now kind of biting them a little bit, because that work needs to be cleaned up if you don't want to buy a lot of additional licenses. But in here, in the admin center, you can see how many of your licenses are actually assigned, and you'll definitely be familiar with this when they enforce it. But it's identical to Office and Power Platform and the CRM applications, because users cannot access that without actually having a license assigned. The next topic, we got that a couple of weeks ago and heard it from several customers. What about these reports? Do you not? And I took a couple of reports from D365, and if you're familiar with them, they are a little bit legacy and brought over from the AX9 and AX12 days. And the reason why I'm saying they're a little bit legacy, they don't really count for attached licenses. They're not 100% reliable, and a little bit misleading, if you ask me. And I think this is just thinking. They will go away as soon as user security governance is fully in place, because most of them they seem to be from the legacy days, from the on-prem days that they have brought over. So don't rely on these reports. If you are looking at them, it can be a little bit misleading. Tatiana, do you want to show how the new user security governance look?
One moment, ladies and gentlemen. We'll make sure this goes through.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I forgot I was muted. Hello, I'm Tatiana, working with these two gentlemen for quite a few years and doing security analysis also for, I don't know, like my friend just reminded me a few minutes ago that the first analysis we did was like 11 years ago, probably. So let me show you what we have right now. If you had a chance to move to 1043, you are a happy person because your security analysis can be much easier. You can activate a feature that is called user governance. Let me show how and what you need to activate to get it. It's still a feature, so it's not.
Preview.
Yeah, still in. Yeah, one of the things is still in preview. Everything else is not in preview anymore, but one of the things is still in preview. The feature is, there are two features you need to activate actually. Two features, these two features. One is user security governance license usage summary report. And the second feature is not in preview anymore. You can use it. It's a user security governance. However, this one is what you need actually. And if you activate these two features, you will get the whole section in your security, in the system administration. This section is called security governance. You will get lots of the things that you will probably explore later, but for your license analysis or for your immediate needs, you will need security license analysis, license usage summary, and user activity aging. These three things, we use them widely to analyze licenses. So the first one is, no, the first one was open actually here. The first one is security analysis. And this is a priceless grid that gives you roles, sub-roles, privilege, duties, privileges, the menu type, menu item type, and menu item, and the permissions level. You know about the permissions, right? Read, update, create, delete, and the license. This is the most valuable, the license that is required for each menu item. That's how our security is built, starting from the role down to the menu item level and to the license that is assigned to each menu item. And you can analyze, you can pull a role, and you can see what menu items require a certain license. That's the first thing. The second thing, the second thing is the license usage summary. This one also opened on my screen. Here, the breakdown is by the user, and Microsoft keeps updating this. This is the second or the third version of the same report. So right now, you can look at each single user and see what license is required. Which one is the base license, the full license, and which one is the attached license, if any attachment is required. And here you can see how many menu items drive this license requirement. And in the bottom for each single user, you can see the breakdown by the menu item. So this type of analysis. But if you do it blindly, and if you go and purchase licenses blindly, you will probably go, you come here, you check the license requirement, and you probably want to purchase these licenses. However, this report takes all inactive users into account for this particular environment. This is a sandbox environment. So it doesn't take production into account. It doesn't take the other sandbox environments into account. And the question about the cloud-hosted environments is great. We will follow up on this. We will answer this question. So that's the one. What else? Again, quite similar to the previous report. I mean, the report on the security analysis report. There is a breakdown by the SKU number and menu item, and so on and so forth. It requires a lot of exploration. It's just the same data sliced and diced differently. And the third report we usually use is the user activity aging. So we found out that some customers have users inactive. No, I should say in a different way, active, but not using the system. This report will help you find these users. So it's an aging report: 7 days activity, 30 days activity, 90 days activity, and 1 year, like up to 1 year activity. You can analyze.
And definitely pay attention to this report if you have, for example, a step up, enterprise agreement step up or renewal coming up, because you don't want to pay for licenses that you don't use. And Tatiana, maybe touch on the telemetry that I saw it in the other tab, because that is a super neat feature that you can enable to actually figure out who is using what in the system. But
we'll show. Thank you for this. Didn't plan, but it's a great addition. So how about what I like about this report? You can disable. Not bulk disabling, but one by one you can disable users who probably can be disabled because they don't use the system. And we find quite a lot of cases when the users consume the license while they haven't used the system for a while. Talking about telemetry, it's not turned on, so I cannot show you.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, not now. Yeah, I'm thinking about this just to turn it on. But there is a feature, monitoring and telemetry, that you can turn on. You need to configure it in Azure. The configuration is quite simple, straightforward. You will get the telemetry report, the user activity, when, so it's a user, menu item, display menu item. You need to take it into account. No action, no output menu items. Display menu items. So menu item, the user menu item when it was engaged. And it will give you an ability to follow up on certain roles configuration and see how many users touched this menu item, who these users are. If you like, we use this in two different perspectives. One is to analyze if the role is correctly configured. So if the duty is ever used, the privileges ever used, right? The menu items assigned to privileges. And how often it is used. Maybe we can negotiate it with the users and find another way to do the same things and make it cheaper. And the other thing is we get the list of the subject matter expert in this particular area, and we can discuss with them. So we have the list of the users who use this particular menu item. We can discuss with them, like, oh, what exactly you guys doing, and maybe we can negotiate it again, and we can discuss the way how they use it, and maybe they're missing something they never told us. So telemetry is quite interesting source of information. More than anything else?
No, that's
what
good.
do you think?
Unless there's any questions, Sebastian?
Yeah, there's a couple that have popped in. So there's one from Darren Searcy, who just redesigned all of their security roles to segregate them by license type to save on costs. They relied on the View Permissions button on the security configuration page to determine what licenses a role was assigned to. Was that a reliable method, or does it have the same issues as the legacy security reports that we just went over?
The view permission is 100% reliable. The view permissions, just imagine if you put all roles together, and like it was my dream for years to get all the roles together and click the view permissions once, like you click once and you get all view permissions for all roles. This is it. The screen, the grid that I'm sharing right now, this is the view permissions for all roles together. So yes, it's the 100% reliable way to do.
Great. I'm sure Darren feels much better now after that one. We have another one here from Ganian Gordon. Do these reports work for security maintained via Azure Active Directory groups?
Yes, it's just another way to maintain them, right? Yep. Behind the scenes, nothing changes, so you will get the same results, no matter how you assign the roles via Azure Active Directory groups or directly, or using automated way to do it inside of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. Yes, these reports are designed to analyze including analyze license requirement, including the Azure groups.
And one note to that, if I understand your question correct, let's say that you have a different group and you add new users and they automatically get assigned a number of licenses.
Roles.
You would still have to go into D365 and assign the right security role to them. Because in Azure Active Directory, I've seen some cases where they have some groups that auto assign a number of licenses. That's all good. That's great. Save your time. But over on the D365 side, you would need to make sure that they have the right security role. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is since Microsoft launched F&O, or Finance and Supply Chain, they have changed what you could do with a team member or what you could do with an activity member a number of times over the years. So if your group was based on 2000 and let's say 19 or 20, then you might want to revise it. But yeah, we can take that as a separate topic.
Yeah, there is a similar function, like you're saying, you can automatically assign licenses. There is a similar function, you can automatically assign roles, and probably they've been using this, their role assignment. Yep. Thank you.
Cheers, Tatiana. Thank you for that thorough overview of the topic. I think for the sake of pacing, we should probably proceed to the next section of the presentation, but we will have a few more times to get back around to questions in the chat, so feel free to post them.
Yeah. Ask as many as possible. The third topic is database capacity. And this is kind of a new topic, and I'm saying new because pretty much every single customer that we have spoken with over the past 6 to 7, 8 months, they were not aware that there was actually a tile or workspace in the Power Platform Center where you could see how much is your non-production and production environments taking up. And how do we actually, for example, minimize some of it? Are we over our entitlement or under our entitlement? And this is super critical to pay attention to, because that we have seen some examples where we are talking about millions of dollars in overage versus what they're actually entitled to. And again, as mentioned earlier, this is not being enforced as far as we know from November 1st. This will most likely happen sometime in 2026. And who knows, the prices can change as well. I have some examples that I will cover with you and some pricing examples as well. But if you are familiar with the monthly Dynamics licensing guide or report, then you can go into dynamics.microsoft.com and you can download it. On that report, every month, they give you a 60 or 70 or 80 page document describing what you can do with each user. In the bottom of that document, there is a database entitlement metrics that actually show how much gigabyte you occur with each license. And this is super critical because we often see that customers that have been live with let's say a large footprint of Dynamics, they are definitely over the entitlement. And there is some changes. There's some solutions for cleaning it up, but you can see it in here, and it's fairly easy to calculate how much space you actually have. If we jump to the Power Platform Center again, if you click on your licenses and then up here in the capacity add-on, this is the new view of Power Admin Center that was released May 15. So it might look a little bit different, but it's under, I believe, capacity if you are on the legacy version. Up here, you have a little switch where you can go over to the new workspace. It's totally up to you. It's fairly easy to find. But when you get into the capacity section, you have in the top, it's very important, this is Dataverse. So all your CRM environments. And then down here, finance and operations, that's your finance and supply chain. What you also can see on this page is you have a tab up here, finance operation. I'll show you an example in not the next slide, but the following. And because in here, that's very important because that gives you an indication of what's actually driving, in this case, the 0.227 gigabyte out of the 1.445 terabyte available. Over here, there's a little arrow. If you click on that, you will actually get a drop down that show how the different licenses give you different entitlements. It's not the best yet. It's a little bit difficult to understand, but it gives you a little bit of insight. If we are looking at this is our capacity. We have enough. We are not over our entitlement. Then we take an example of environment where you are over entitlement, and you will get like a warning bar up here. And for those that are set up to receive LCS messages, you have most likely also received some warning emails from Microsoft, some standard warning emails, highlighting the fact that you absolutely need to clean up or add buy capacity, or you need to, for example, reduce some of your sandboxes or production environment in order to be entitled. In this case, we are 1200% over, and 1200%, that's both non-production and production. I'll show you that in a second. And it's important to think of this in two ways, because non-production is one price and production is another price. And in this case, give and take 4 terabyte entitlement, over entitlement is $5 to $6 million annually. And that's why I said it's very, very important that you check, see if it's good or bad. If it's bad, feel free to reach out, and we can give you some tips and tricks on how to clean up your different environments or instance. When you click on that finance and operation tab, you're brought into a long list. You might have few, you might have many, but of all your different environments and the type, is it a sandbox? Is it production? What is it? And how much space are they actually accumulating? What we often see is, I would say, give and take between 5 and 6 sandboxes, maybe a little bit less, and then a production environment. But we often see that every single sandbox is a full copy of production. You have some different capabilities of making light copies of production. I think it was feature Microsoft released, give and take 6 months ago or something. That's one way of actually saving space. But in here, you can also click on the red or purple, whatever color that is, and you can see what is making up the 12.97. So go to your production instance if it's huge, or if it's large, bigger than what you think, and then see what tables are actually driving the numbers here. Any questions, Sebastian?
Let's see. So we have one from Karen Sorrentino. Hello again. It's good to see you. You're at the last one as well. They have some conflicts between the license usage summary report under security governance and the Power Platform Admin Center report. Is the license usage summary report the correct one to make sure you know which licenses are being assigned?
I would count on D365, and I would not count today of the report you see in Power Platform Admin Center. That's the short answer to that. I would also probably take a look and we'll get to that in a second. We will pull all your users and security roles and so on, just to make 100% sure that there's no discrepancy in that report. But D365 is more reliable than Power Platform Admin Center. Hopefully that answers your question.
Right. Let's see. We have one from Corey Fellers.
Hey, Corey.
Microsoft has said in the past that they would not enforce storage maximums until they are able to provide an archiving function inside D365. Have we heard anything about this potential archiving solution yet?
Good. Super question, Corey. And I should probably have covered that a little bit earlier. In D365, for each module, AR, GP, budgeting, so on and so forth, you have cleanup functionalities that you can run. That's one thing, check. Then my timeline is a little bit fuzzy, but Microsoft announced some different functionalities, and we can send you some information on that, where you can actually get some of your data out of D365. And I believe it took them a while to get it to work properly. But last time I checked with Michael, our technical architect, it's working to some extent. But I would say it's a little bit dangerous because it's impacting reports and so on. And that is probably why they haven't announced that they are enforcing the database capacity yet, because the tools are simply not good enough to help customers take out data, for example. So, but Corey, we should definitely have a conversation around that, because I know Michael, he is studying it very closely. If I jump over, and this is probably a good segue over to the retail prices. So if you think of, I know it's two different things, but if you think of buying storage on your iPhone or your Android or whatever, your Google account or something like that, you can get a couple of terabytes for $6-7. Great. And we are like, oh man, I don't want to buy more space for all my footage and so on. When you look at finance and supply chain capacity, the current prices is $40 retail, not if you're on an enterprise agreement. If you buy 1 gigabyte, it's $40 per month. Meaning if you need to buy 1,000, it's almost $500,000 a year. You can buy them 1 gigabyte at the time, and that's we normally see customers buying a little bit if they need more space. Currently, the big cost driver is the non-production. It's a little bit cheaper per gigabyte, but you can only purchase it in 1,000 gigabyte increments. So if non-production or when non-production are being enforced, that is definitely where you have to follow some different best practices, meaning you probably do not want to take full copies of your production. You don't want 5 or 10 or 15 sandboxes, because that will be very expensive, very fast if they are going to enforce it. Any questions before we jump into the advanced?
I think we'll take one of the final ones here from Chris Dent. We've seen recently in the table listings several analytics tables that have appeared after version 10.43. When checking these, Chris says they are the items listed in the tables are responsible for 25% of their capacity, but they do not use that, or they don't organize that data in Dynamics itself. Is this a problem that we've seen before?
I would love a screen share and some data points. The most common big tables, I'm thinking here while I'm talking, the biggest tables I have seen the last week have been batch job history. That is kind of a center in the sense of it has been marked to, for example, 90 days, where you can actually pick 30. And if you are a logistic company, that can definitely jack up the size. Another one is inventory transactions, and there is some tools for that. So if you are, again, logistics company, that is important to pay attention to. I have not seen top of mind what you're mentioning, but I would love to discuss it in detail and see what is actually impacting. But yeah, not top of mind.
Right. I think let's move on to
Yep.
the next section for
Okay.
now. There
Yep.
should be a
So
little more time for further questions later on, everyone. We're just gonna crank on here.
perfect. So we took a look at what you can do yourself, and it takes 5-10 minutes. Then you have an overview of is it good, is it bad, but you don't really have any clear guidance on what you need to do in order to change, for example, the security roles, because that leads to lower licenses. So if your report is looking, it's really bad, or I'm afraid I need to do a big step up, definitely pay attention to this more advanced analysis. I have like 3-4 slides. I'll go over the process, the benefit, and then give you an example of a report we recently did. But let's see here. The reason why you should do this, and I think we have talked about it, there's no role privilege duty optimization recommendation in the tools Tatiana showed, in the tools you have seen in Power Platform. What we most often see is historically roles have been thrown against users right before go live to make sure that everybody could do what they needed to do. And historically, that have not been an issue from a licensing perspective. Security, that's a different aspect I don't want to go into. But now the enforcement is happening. You simply risk of overpaying, and let's mitigate if there's any segregation of duty violations. And we saw, I think that was late last year, December last year. We saw a large customer that had give and take 800 users that could write a check, and they could also approve a check. So that was something we needed to mitigate. Compliance, it's related to Microsoft compliance. You have some obligations to that, and audits as well. It's a little bit easier to do the audits for your audit firm if everything is bottomed up. Number 6, process or business process redesign. We are putting that in because we have also seen that implementation might have been taking 2 years, 3 years, and there have been made a lot of customization to your business processes because either one, the functionalities was not out of the box when you implemented or when you went through your requirement, or two, let's just say that the consultant didn't challenge you enough. So they said, yep, we can absolutely do this. We'll write a customization. And that is going to bite you a little bit now because you could probably roll some of those custom business processes into standard and then avoid users, for example, needing 3, 4, 5 licenses, full and some attached, if they are following some of the out-of-box business processes. The last one we recently saw, if you have some invasive is not the right word, but if you have some significant ISVs deployed, we have seen that they are one of the main drivers of bringing users to full licenses. And Tatiana and I, we discussed it earlier. And most of the time we see some of the big AX or Navision or GP ISVs having like a broad footprint into the application. And when they brought to D365, they might impact the users way more than is actually intended. So pay attention. If you have big ISVs, they can also be a driver for massive licenses, and that's not good because you're already paying them a license, and then you also have to pay Microsoft more licenses. So what can actually be done? Yep, that's kind of the why. The process of doing this is fairly easy. It's normally 3-4 steps. We do a screen share with the customer. It takes 45 minutes, an hour. We did one this morning for a company in Denmark, where we get a little bit of background into their deployment history, when they went live, what's the version, what's the plan for the next update. We do a sanity check of the different reports just to make sure where we see the biggest discrepancies. Then we also get a count of existing licenses, and then we pull three very, very important reports, and that's all users, sub roles, and then security roles association. That's that some of them can be massive and too big for email sharing, but that's the report. It normally takes 45 minutes an hour. That's all we need from you. Then we take your data through our cleanup engine. And we also look into if you have telemetry data, if we match that up with the different reports. And of course, if you have security governance, that's just a plus. If you don't have, no worries. And then we definitely also dig into the ISV's drivers. After 4-5 business days a week, we then present all this data back to you. But most importantly, we give you some hands-on recommendation of what you need to change, and I'll go into that in a second, in order to, for example, bring your X amount of full users down to activity, or clean up, as Tatiana mentioned, users that are enabled but are not actually using the system, and so on and so forth. Because just a few licenses is massive cost if you are on an annual plan, or if you are on a 3-year plan and you have to pay for 10, 20, 100 or 500 licenses that you actually don't need, or categorized wrong. Any questions before I jump into an example?
Let's see, we have one here with a couple of thumbs ups from Lana Van S. Could you talk about the quote unquote light copy refresh process? Last I heard, you could only service master tables, but not limit your data to something like the last 12 months.
Yeah, we have 12 minutes back, and I have a couple of slides. I would love to talk about it, but let's schedule like a 30-minute call, and we will definitely cover it with you.
That sounds very good. Please feel
Yeah.
free to reach out, Lana.
Yep. This is just one example. I'm speeding up a little bit. We have 5 slides left. This is a recent example, a large global manufacturer. We did initially, we looked in D365, we saw we had a large number of users in the system, but a lot of supply chain, as you can see here, a lot of activity that was simply driving up the cost. And this is just the retail price. It might be a little bit outdated with the new changes. But give and take, $5 million a year was the current paid licenses to Microsoft. Then we digged in, and we actually saw that they had far more users in production. And as you can see, there was a lot of attached licenses. Pretty much every single attached license was needed, except the human resource, but commerce, project, and we were like, what's going on here? That actually turned out they were at the tail end of a 3-year agreement. This turned out to be a $2 million non-compliant setup they were running. What is very, very important when we were then done, now we kind of had the baseline. Tatiana and one of our other consultants helped do the cleanup and recommendation, and then we came up with a proposed security role design that actually would help them reduce their renewal at the EA with almost $3 million. So they were fairly happy about this. So give a call if you have an EA coming up. This is important because it will save you a lot of money. The remediation is also important, and I'm happy that Microsoft extended the deadline, because cleaning up, as is and to be, that can be a 100 to 200 to 300 hour effort, depending on how granular you want to go, and also depending on what exactly are users actually needing in your, for example, global offices or something like that. There can be some regional changes. What did we look at? This is just an example of a report. When we extracted all the role licenses and added them into our calculations, we saw that some of the specific roles, in this case, for example, buying agent, was actually driving a full finance, and then a long list of attached licenses, supply chain, project, and commerce. and there was, give and take, 1,150 users with a buying agent role that needed to do all this. Can that be true? Another one we questioned was sales tax admin. It requires a full license. Is it true that they need 900 sales tax admin? Highly doubted. And then the last one I just want to emphasize here was quality control. Supply chain, full users, 900 people. What's the point of quality control if you have 900 people doing that out of give and take 3,000? So there was some really good aha moment, both from the customer, but also from us, because we added the telemetry data into here to figure out what are the users actually doing in the system and how can we optimize the roles. Yeah, and as mentioned, it takes give and take a week to perform an in-depth analysis, and we also take a look at your database size in that process. Give and take, we have 8 minutes left. Currently, we are running because we know Microsoft are extending the timeline. We're extending it to, if you need help with this, type meeting in the chat or reach out directly to me, Sebastian, or Tatiana, and we will schedule a meeting and see if we can help you. And then we can always discuss if you want to do like a more detailed analysis. It's definitely eye-opening for the customers we are working with, because a lot of it also goes back to the business processes. We'll share these slides. I did a little set of links that are really good to know. One thing we didn't touch today, it's the subscription estimator. This is important because if you are stepping up your licenses or let's say buying more, then definitely take a look into LCS and update your subscription estimator, because that is giving you more performance, AOSs and so on. There's no concrete documentation of how much you get, but you definitely, we have seen changes when you get or when you add more licenses to your instance. 7 minutes Q&A.
Any floating questions that you'd like to pose to us here at the conclusion? As a friendly reminder, you are always welcome to email us directly with your questions as well. We'd be very happy to get back to you and start a conversation about how we might be able to help. See, while we wait for those possible ones to come in, we have an earlier question from Corey Warwa, which I think is just generally good to know for people. So how do you determine which license is full versus attach? Is that based on the number of menu items being accessed? What exactly is driving the distinction between those things?
Tatiana, do you want to answer that?
Full license versus attached?
You could actually share in D365 what is, for example, driving activity to a full user. I'm thinking of a specific dashboard, but I can't remember it.
That's the view permissions dashboard, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so what we usually do, let's pick something questionable. For example,
are you sharing?
Oh, I'm not, sorry, sharing. Yeah, I thought I'm sharing. Okay. Let's take a purchasing manager, because you can, sorry. Purchasing manager, that's an purchasing agent. It's an interesting, quite interesting role that can be downgraded to the activity license easily. If we take the supply chain part of this license, I hope it's gonna respond quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You will see that what drives the full license for the purchasing agent is that's the duties that probably most people don't use, like purchase agreements if you don't have purchase agreements, right? Or if you don't use trade agreements, or this is also trade agreements. If you don't use request of quotation, if you that's the request for and again the request of quotation solicitation. So it's just a few duties that not widely used. It's rare. We rarely see companies that use these duties. And if you remove these duties, and of course you need to duplicate the role, you need to do it properly, right? We don't touch the out-of-box roles. We duplicate the role, and in the dupe we remove the duties. Then this duty can be easily downgraded to the activity license. What drives it? Some certain duties drive the license from the full supply chain to the activity. That would be my first question. So are you using these duties? Do you have it as part of your business processes? Then of course I'm looking at the operation license, which is unclassified full license. It can be supply chain, finance, whatever, but it's a full license. And again, same purchasing agent. I'm like, okay, great. So maintain all category hierarchy details or product price and discount. It's again trade agreements. Vendor master. So does your purchasing agent maintain vendor master, specifically 1099 on the vendor master, which is rare again. Vendor questionnaires. I'm showing you the example how to downgrade a particular role to the activity, because there are certain menu items and consequently certain privileges and duties that drive it to the full license. This is how we do it. Did I answer the question?
It sounds pretty darn good to me.
Okay.
And I think if we have time for one more here, that does sound like it will be useful to folks. From, again, Darren Searcy. Is the telemetry analysis a proprietary tool you guys developed, or is it available in 10.43/44?
I wish we developed it.
I know.
Developed it, but it's a Microsoft tool, and it's available.
From 2022. Actually, it's been around for a couple of years. So it's a Microsoft tool. You can find. We can post how to configure the telemetry tool in our chat. Yes, it's quite straightforward. You need to configure two things: one in finance and operations, and another one in Azure.
And that's a good point, because it has a cost associated therein. I don't think it's a lot, but we can look into that as well. A lot. I mean, it's not like a full user or something. It's a little bit of Azure consumption.
Yeah.
But it definitely it's useful, and it gives you some nice user behavior insights.
And first party, so a little bit of peace of mind there too is always nice.
Yep.
Right. Well, that looks like just about everything in the chat so far. Just to reiterate, everybody, if you would like some further clarification, or if maybe the questions that you were thinking of didn't quite fit well in a Teams chat but would be better over email, we'd be more than happy to discuss with you about those topics. So feel free to reach out.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a good rest of your day or evening.
Wherever on the globe you may be, hopefully this is helpful and lets you sleep a little easier.